Hey everybody, this is Robin over at the 4Art Space, and we are sitting with Larry Tuckman. Hey Larry, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
And Larry is a phenomenal photographer, y'all. So a few of his pieces are behind him, and I will also be adding some of his work at the end of this video. So please stay on it so you can see some of his work. And as well, I will put his links in the descriptions so you could check out his website and shop page or whatever. So Larry, thank you for coming out this Saturday.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's good to see you. We haven't seen each other since before the pandemic started.
Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
This is what, I might even say 2 years, believe it or not. Almost.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I don't think it was, we saw each other, maybe we saw each other early last year. You know, I recall there was something here that I came to.
Yeah, I don't know. But it was crazy because you figure we all closed up in March of 2019.
Okay, yeah.
So a lot has happened since then.
Right.
So why don't you tell us what's going on with you and your photography?
Well, it's definitely been a lot harder since the COVID, just because as you can see in a few of the images, I do a lot of people work. So people are not so anxious to come over to somebody, especially somebody I don't know.
Right.
And so hopefully with people being vaccinated, that'll start to change. But my work, you know, I try to just mix it up. I don't have any one thing that I do. I do a lot of street photography. I do a lot of people photography, and I work mostly in black and white. I do color, and I just try to be different with each project I'm working on.
Yeah. Well, I remember the last time, that's probably the last time I saw you, was when you hung the series with the people that you were with the tattoos.
Tattoos, yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about that series?
Yeah, I started that right at the time that COVID hit.
Yeah.
So I was hoping, I thought about it for about a year or so, which is what I tend to do. I don't rush into a project. I think about it, what I want to say, you know, what's the feasibility of it working. And so I thought about the tattoo project for quite a while, and then I decided, okay, I'm going to go with it and just basically put the word out on Facebook and through friends. And then COVID hit, and I got about, 15 people to post when I was hoping I'd have, 15 people a week.
Yeah.
But, so it's been about a year and a half now, maybe close to 2 years since I started it. And that's obviously what this one is from. And the only requirement is you have a tattoo. I don't have to see the whole tattoo. I can just see a part of it. I want the project to be more about the person. People get tattoos and people look at the tattoos and they say, oh my God, that's a beautiful tattoo. Where'd you get that? Or who is the artist? But think about why they got that tattoo.
Right,
what
story.
that tattoo says about them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any tattoos, so that was a learning experience for me too. It's great it's an art, no doubt. It's an art in itself.
Oh yeah.
And I love looking at tattoos, but I always was curious what the tattoo says about the person. This is a friend of mine, Owen, and he's pretty heavily tatted on his arms. And Owen, I can say describe why I was attracted to photographing Owen, because Owen's somebody who's very sure of himself, and he knows what he wants, and he wants you to know that. In a good way. I mean, he's not full of himself or anything, but he's just sure. He knows what he wants to do. And I thought that I could get that, and I do think it comes through. It just, in his posture and what he's wearing. And so it's a challenge. So I don't, I photograph people and it doesn't work.
Yeah, of course I'm tatted, and and I know a lot of people who in the industry, not
mm-hmm.
only people who've gotten tattoos, but also people who give the tattoos,
mm-hmm.
and the psychology behind it. If you ever get a chance to talk to actually a tattoo artist who actually does the tattoos, you can pick their mind about
mm-hmm.
some of these stories that they've heard over the years. But I can tell you just from my experience, not a lot, but a good number of people would say, when they started getting tattoos, it was because they were not, they didn't like their bodies. You know, for whatever reason, they wanted to hide. They used the tattoos to hide behind. And maybe it's not just the physical body itself, it's the whole thing, like your whole psyche, you know, changes, I think, when you get a tattoo. And you go through this sort of ritual of pain to get the tattoo, which becomes this like cleansing in a way. I know it sounds weird and maybe sadistic, but it's true. I mean, I can say even for myself, for me, getting a tattoo is really a cleansing ritual for me. Like the pain sort of signifies this sort of inner struggle that I deal with in depression. And for a long time after a tattoo, I feel pretty good. So, you know, in my psyche, you know, my spirit. For I don't know why, you know, I'm not a psychologist, but I do understand my body.
Right.
I understand my depression, and I don't give in to things, but I also know there are certain things that happen in my life that tattooing almost gives me an ability to shed some of it. And also the memories of it is now on my skin, without anybody else, because you know, I understand where you're coming from, because anybody else is going to look at my tattoo and be like, oh, that's so cool, that's awesome, and you know, but they don't get the whole story. And I don't always give it to people because it's my story, and it's
I agree.
the reasons why I do it, you know, and I'm an artist, so I want to also wear art. And to me, when I do my art, it's about telling the story of my life, or how I've been affected by the world around me, right? You as a photographer know that, you know, documenting your subjects is real life. They're real moments. They're real, you know, experiences. And you capture that in your subjects. What are some of the other things that you like to do, or how do you get your subjects, rather? Let me ask that. Like, do you just randomly find them on the streets?
I do. Well, I don't even though I do a lot of street photography, I don't approach people usually. I just snap a picture. I don't even invade their privacy or anything. But I put stuff out on Facebook or Instagram or through friends. I photograph people who I don't know through friends. They've said, oh, I know somebody who's working on a project. And I tend to try to have the people just as relaxed as I can. I don't, I'm just like snapping away. I don't try not to pose them. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just prefer they're a little more natural if they're just not doing anything other than being themselves. And like I say, most of them, I'm happy with the results, but there's some that just don't work for, not their fault, but I just couldn't get what I wanted out of it. Get nice pictures for them, and everybody gets pictures, gets a copy. But not everything, like I've tried to tell my son, who is also an artist, that everything doesn't have to succeed. You don't have to succeed. Even if I worked on this project for 2 years and I didn't even get anything I liked, it's disappointing, but it's still,
you learned a lot.
I still got stuff right. I may not gotten an image that I liked, but I still got a lot out of it. So it's, you know, it's like I always try to tell my son, we don't see art as garbage can. We don't see their garbage can. We don't see what they throw away. We only see what they find successful.
Or paint over or whatever, or embellish. I know plenty of artists who take old paintings that they weren't, for some reason it just never could, maybe it was the medium. You know, sometimes for me as an artist, I can't portray an emotion with one single medium. Like it has to either be a sculpture or a painting or a photograph or digital art or whatever, but it tells me what it needs to be. I don't push it to be a painting, because when you try to do that,
that's true.
it doesn't work. You know, and you could tell your son, that's just how it is. And when he watches this video, he'll see. You know, but there's no, to me, this notion of, or school of thought, this whole idea of mastering one's craft. Because we're always constantly evolving, not just as artists, but as human beings. You know, evolution isn't a mastery of any kind. So why do we have to master a craft? You know?
It makes sense. I like that.
I mean, it's true though.
Yeah.
Think of a doctor. If he says, well, I'm not going to learn the next phase of, treating cancer because I like the old ways, that I mastered that.
Right.
That's stupid, right? If
Right.
if you don't evolve, you can't heal people. You can't, learn.
Right.
You just stop. That to me is what mastering a craft means. And you guys on YouTube land, you might have a different idea, and I'm open to your comments on that as well. But it's just really, frankly, how I feel about it.
Well, no, and I think that's true, and I think that applies so much to even photography itself. I mean, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, like this image, I shot with film. Now I shoot digital. I have film cameras, I just don't shoot them anymore. It's,
Right.
You have to rethink of how you're going to do something, especially now with Photoshop, which I don't say I'm not a huge fan of it. Photoshop is amazing. I mean, some of the skills they have, it just blows my mind away. I'd rather capture it in the camera. That's just me. There's
Right.
some people who can take 3 or 4 images, put them together, and make a stunning image. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Not my cup of tea. It's just I'd rather do adjust contrast or something. If something is in the image, it's because I want it in the image. And if it's in there and I love it, everything but for that thing that's in there, then I don't use the image.
Yeah.
So it is relearning and constantly growing.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely. And that's what's part of the whole psychology of it too, is because to me, when you grasp the notion that nothing is perfect in nature or in life, so then you stop trying to make everything so perfect.
Right.
And then it becomes more natural, more organic, and more real and raw.
Right.
I think that's what really captivates people when they look at art, whether it's fine art, photography, sculpture, you name it. It has to move you and speak to you. So every time you look at a piece, you're going to say, "Wow, I didn't even see that in there," But you never stop looking at
Right.
it, and you
Yeah.
never stop finding that thing that you didn't see the last time. That's what art
Oh,
does.
I totally agree. I mean, I say that to people. Like, my favorite movie of all time is Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've seen the movie a dozen times. I have gotten something more out of it each time I've seen it that I didn't see the first time.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did I not see that, or how did I not understand it? And artwork is that. Jackson Pollock is one of my favorite painters. I know some people don't. A lot of people don't like him. I get it.
Yeah.
Mark Rothko, those people, I see something in their work that just, every time I see it, it moves me. And that's what I like art to do, want art to do.
Right.
And what I want my art to do. I'm not comparing myself to those artists at all. But, I want you to, if you can look at that and get a feeling, even if it's not what I intended, but you can get something out of it, then that's great.
So, Larry, when did you start photography? Did you go to school specifically for photography, or?
Yeah, I went to Columbia College. I was originally going to go for cinematography. Ever since I was a child, I wanted to be a cinematographer. And when I went to register at Columbia, photographer Ruth Thorne Thompson, very, very well-known photographer, she convinced me to do still photography instead. She goes, you can always come back to film if you want. And then I just fell in love with still photography.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and luckily I had a teacher at Columbia in my second year who said, don't think you're going to make money off your artwork. Go into commercial if you're going to stick in the. It didn't say it just to me. He said it to the class. Do your artwork, but realize that a lot of times it's going to sit in the closet. And so then I'm like, okay, I'll go into commercial to make a living so I can do my artwork.
Yeah.
And
Well, all artists have to have a job.
yes, exactly. Exactly.
So,
That's exactly it.
There's people who have a gimmick and they get farther along.
Yeah.
But I never advise artists to follow these gimmicks
Right.
of these people who they think are making money hand over fist.
I agree.
Fine art isn't a conveyor belt of art.
Right.
You can do, a dozen at a time, but you can bet that there's not really an emotional response from you as the artist. It's mainly you just throwing some paint on a canvas. I mean, again, people, you can come at me, but I'm telling you, you know, I'm 20 years in the business. I've been an artist my entire life. So I'm just talking to you like a real person, like I would tell anybody. You know, art means a lot to me. It saves my life every freaking day. Yeah. And so I don't poo-poo it. Calling myself an artist was a badge of honor, not just something that's freely given to everybody. Right. You know, nowadays I think a lot of people call themselves an artist, which is fine. I think creativity should be everybody. Everybody should be creative in one way or the other. It's a way to free the soul, you know. It's a way to get inner understanding of yourself. A whole lot of things.
I agree, because I know a lot of people, especially with social media. So you have a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook who post photos with their phone and everything, and I take pictures with my phone because that's what this one is of. And they call themselves a photographer, and other people I know get upset, and I'm like, it's fine. I mean, if that upsets you, then you got to question why you're calling yourself a photographer or an artist.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to call yourself a photographer, then or an artist, that's fine.
Yeah. It is fine. It's just a matter of putting your heart, soul into it. Because, you know, I think the reason why today we have fewer collectors is because it is sort of like they don't know who's real and who's not anymore. You know, the portrayal has exceeded the line. You know, the line in the sand was drawn, you know, between the decorative artist, I'll say, and the fine artist, right? And so collectors, it's hard to build the new collector, you know, like we would have back, you know, 15, 20 years ago. So, but anyways, I mean, it still happens. Few far in between. I have a lot of young collectors now too. But I think one of the things we should all think about is how to move forward in this new world. Have you thought much about that in terms of your photography and how you show it?
I really haven't. You know, I've always been one who, I do my work because it's something inside me that says you got to do this work. You know, you get to keep going, you know. So a lot of times my work does sit in my closet, and I'm okay with that. You know, I do my work for me. You know, I love to show it. I've shown here a few times. You've been gracious enough to let me show here, and it's been great. I've gotten really good feedback. It's just I don't like to play, which is why I like showing here, the gallery game. You know, you go to a gallery to show your work. Oh, where'd you get your master's from? I don't have a master's. Oh, all of a sudden then my work is not good.
Right.
You know, because I don't have that degree. And it's like, if you like the work, great. If you don't, that's okay.
Well, my response is always to those kind of people is that an artist isn't made, an artist is born. And then that's the end of my discussion with them. Because I don't have a master's, I have a bachelor's degree. And I only went back to school because it was calling to me. I have dyslexia, so college was never in my frame of mind. I barely got out of high school. So, but something was telling me this school was it for me. It was art related. And the counselors there assured me that my dyslexia would not get in the way, that there were people there that understood it. And I had only just learned about it not too long before, maybe 10 years before, you know. Because back then when we were young, they didn't have that word.
Right.
You know, that might have been there, but it just wasn't one that was thrown around. So you just did your best.
Right. Yeah.
But I think today, looking at the world the way that we do, you know, I think all of us artists have to find a way to take control of how we're viewed. And of course, I would love people to come to a place and be viewed in person. But I think that with this pandemic, things have changed a little bit. So, you know, I encourage artists to try to get online more, use social media more, but in their own way. Don't try to be like this person and how they're doing it. Do it like how you would do it. because there's never any more frustration than trying to keep up with the Joneses,
Right.
so to speak.
Yeah.
So don't do that, because that's going to make you miserable. Figure out a way in your time frame, in the way that you want it to look and how you want to represent yourself on these platforms, and do you. You know, I'm considering doing maybe a few paid ads this coming year, if I can, just to reach farther out to hopefully other collectors, you know, out there. And they're out there. It's just finding a way to reach them and not dealing with social media's relentless algorithm depleting our efforts,
Right.
you know,
Right.
to being seen. So you have to be smarter. You know, you have to be like a chess player, you know, a few moves ahead.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So,
That is true.
so what, have you thought about other ways that you might be more visible?
You know, I have entered more, I don't want to say competitions, but online shows, which seems to be pretty popular now. You know, the issue with that is every time you do that, you have to pay money.
Yeah.
And that adds up after a while,
Oh,
you know,
of course.
especially if you're, you know, you get into a show, which is great, but then you have to, if you're not selling your work, then you're still spending anywhere from $30 to $50 per competition. And if you're trying to enter a couple of those a month, at least, you know, to get your name out there, you wonder how many people, you never know how many people are really visiting the website either. But that I have been trying to do that, and I get in a little here and there. But I'm just waiting for the day when the galleries open up again. It's you know, there's something about going to an opening like here, like you used to have here on Fridays, and just, you know, hundreds of people, and just being able to walk around, and it's a lot different than clicking on your computer.
So doing these YouTube videos, they're definitely something that I feel like is going to reach out to people everywhere, and not just in the neighborhood, you know, or just Chicago or whatever. So that's why for me, going into this and seeing where art can be found, I'm noticing that a lot of people are looking online. So it's one of those things that I think it's going to be up to each artist how they decide that their virtual world is going to be. You know, but I don't actually miss our Friday openings.
You don't?
I don't.
Oh.
I don't miss the setup.
Well, you
I
did a
don't
lot
miss
of
all
work.
the planning.
Right.
I don't miss all of the work. I do miss the people though.
Yeah.
I miss seeing the artists. I miss that. But I'll be honest with you, Larry, I've talked more with you guys now that we're doing the YouTube video.
Sure.
And being able to just pay attention to you and nothing else.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. You and I have had some great conversations that we didn't have before with so much going on. I agree with that.
Yeah. And so now I think that this platform now, albeit digital, I think gives all of us an opportunity to reach our hand out farther into the virtual space, so we can get into the living rooms or dens or whatever people around the world, is my hope, you know. And I mean, I know it's going to take time for the channel to build up, but it's okay. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right. No, and I think I agree with you. And I think something like this is better, even going back to what I was saying about the competitions before, because I think that this reaches more than just the artist. It reaches people. Oh, let me check out this video. The problem I have with doing some of the online shows is it is just artists looking at it, and I just wish it would broaden beyond that. I don't have the answer to that, but that's what I wish it was. Some of the rules are so too strict to enter these competitions that they're knocking out a lot of people that would otherwise say, oh, let me try entering this landscape I took or whatever. Yeah, you know, you're making it's too cliquish.
Yeah.
Some of them, not all of them, but and that's a problem I have with sometimes art in general is too cliquish.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
for sure. And I don't belong to any of them.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
and I don't care, because you know me, I am not one to follow anybody. You know, I've been a leader my whole life.
Right.
And I have not done anything but try to help people and give them whatever I could give them, which is basically knowledge that I've learned. And you won't find that readily happening in the art world.
No.
Unfortunately. They
No.
just, it's like some hidden secret, like we're part of Tomb Raider. We got to, you know, do some digging in order to even get to the truth.
Well, and I was just talking with my girlfriend the other day. We were talking about one of the problems I have with art world is that, especially critics, is they, you know, you want people to be more involved in the art. So don't, when you're writing a review, don't write a review so I have to sit there with a dictionary in one hand as I'm reading your review because I don't understand what you're saying.
Absolutely.
You know, you're making it the way that you're criticizing. Well, not enough people come to see this show. Well, maybe if you reviewed it in a way that they could understand what you're saying.
Yes.
And make it more interesting.
Talk like real people
talk. Like real people, yeah. Sometimes, and even gallery owners and artists are that way too. It's just like,
absolutely, because they've learned through the art world, that, you know, quote unquote art world, that they have to be this way, they have to talk that way, they have, and I'm thinking to myself, well, if you talk above everybody's head, what makes you think that they're listening?
Exactly.
What makes you think they're listening or reading? You know, and not only that, and excuse my French people, but it's bullshit.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with their art at all.
Exactly. Oh,
it's
I
just
agree.
whatever that they concocted that seems bigger than life. And all of that is nonsense. And I've never in all these years mentored an artist to talk that way.
Right.
Never. And this YouTube channel, we are going to talk how we talk.
Right.
We're going to interact with each other how we interact with each other. None of this stuff is scripted. We are raw. We are real. We're telling you guys how we really feel about things. That's how this channel is going to be. We're not going to talk above people. We're not going to disclude people, although we may agree to disagree. But that's the way life is, you know, and I'm fine with that. I've agreed to disagree with a lot of folks, and I still respect them.
Absolutely.
But, you know, what you're saying is absolutely correct. You know, I don't exclude people, and that's why for me as an artist, some of my youngest collectors started when they were like 18 years old and still collect my work today.
Wow, that's great.
But why? Because I was a real person, and I talked to them when they asked me. I didn't care how old they were. They were interested in me talking to them about my art, and I did so.
Right.
And, you know, when they came back, when they finally had jobs or money or whatever, and said, oh, I want 2 of those. And I'm looking at them like, did you just rob a bank? Like, they're young. I wasn't expecting that, you know?
Exactly.
So you're like, you got that kind of money, son?
Right. Exactly.
You know, and that happens. But it's only because you showed them respect.
Right.
They didn't feel intimidated by you.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, then it puts them off.
Yeah.
You know, and I can say what I wanted to capture in these photos. If you don't see it, that's okay. If you see something different, that's okay. Tell me, because maybe it's something I didn't see that I need to see. And that's, there's nothing pretentious, I don't think. I try, hopefully don't sound that way about my work. It is what it is, and whatever you get out of it is okay.
I always tell people, especially, you know, with the observation series of mine, a lot of people, you know, it's something different. It's not something people ordinarily see anywhere, even today. So of course it draws a lot of attention, and people want to know, what is this piece about? What is that piece about? And one of my lines, and I've told this to a lot of people, one of the lines that I, you know, because I don't necessarily, why I did it is my own personal struggles and reality, right? So what I usually tell people is like, well, what can you tell me, like, what you see in it? How does it make you feel? And sometimes they'll say, well, I don't want to sound, you know, dumb or anything. I'm like, look, there's no dumb feelings. I mean, you obviously are interested, and so I'm interested in learning what you saw in it. How does it make you feel? Just talk however it makes you feel. And all of a sudden they tell me how it makes them feel. They're telling me what they see in it, how it attracted them, They completely forget about the question of why I created it. Because now the door has been open to allow them to feel how they wanted to feel about it. And that's huge for folks.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know they were allowed to feel however they wanted to feel. Isn't that something?
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. I think that for so long people were told that basically you can't feel that. You have to feel the way I'm saying this.
Yeah, you got to read those crazy statements that people write that make absolutely zero sense.
Yes.
And people don't leave with any kind of connection whatsoever to the artist, because it's all a facade.
Right.
So they leave exactly how they came, with nothing.
Right, exactly. I mean, you can say what you want to accomplish in your work in simple terms, and the person can say, well, I don't think you accomplished it. That's okay.
Yeah.
But at least let them understand. I mean, like I say, I go to these halls here looking at some of the galleries, and I'm reading the artist statement, and I'm like, got to take out my phone and seriously look up what do those words mean? Who talks like that?
Yeah, they still do.
Yeah,
they still do. I mean, a friend of mine, Jared, he actually opened the business with me back in 2003 when we were on Halsted. And of course, we went to all like the Art Institute openings. We went to downtown openings, all the hoity-toity, and I thought to myself, and him too, we're not going to do this with our space.
Right.
This is not going to happen. You walk in, first of all, and it's such a cold, sterile space.
Yeah.
And granted, these people don't have to worry about these kinds of things because they're not welcoming the average Joe.
Exactly.
So right away, they already eliminate you from their space. Number two, they have their, millionaires and rich people who only buy from them because it's going to be worth money someday, so to speak, blah, blah, blah. That's an investment. But I can tell you one thing, Larry. I don't give a crap if you are a kabillionaire, trillionaire, billionaire, whatever you are. If you don't love my work because of what it is, I don't want you to have it.
Exactly. I totally
don't buy
agree.
my work if all you care about is what you're going to get when I die. And the fact that you are going to ask me for a cheaper price.
Right.
Somebody who's rich and has that amount in your pocket right now. But you're going to ask me for a cheaper price so that you make more money when I pass away, when I do all the struggling.
Right.
Not just the fact that I struggle financially, because I don't, I live a modest lifestyle. I'm not starving.
Right.
But I'm not rich either. But my struggle is also, and even with photography, is the creativity, that thing that comes out from your gut and your soul, and you finally get it done, is done. You can hang it on a wall or put it on a pedestal. And you look at it and you're like, wow, I can't believe I just did that.
Right.
And I'm not going to let those kind of people make me feel bad about myself. I struggle with my art only because it's so deep.
Right.
To reveal it is painful. But we go through that as artists. We reveal the pain. We might not talk about it, but it's talked about in that piece. It's visual now. It's out.
Yeah, you're not making a piece just to sell it.
Right. Absolutely. So I definitely have seen the gambit in this business, and I have decided for myself and the people I had in my space how it was going to be. You weed yourself out. That's how I saw it. And over the years, those artists weeded themselves out. I didn't have to do a thing.
Right.
What I do and what I say is not for everybody. And that's fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying
absolutely.
to. This ain't
Absolutely.
a cult.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
so-
Exactly. Yeah, you have your right to not agree with me. Yeah, exactly.
I have formed a school of thought of my own over the years. And it's not just because I pulled it out of a hat. It's because I've experienced it. So I'm never going to tell you to do something or offer to the people, our viewers on the YouTube channel, to follow my school of thought. Form your own through experience. If you come back and say, wow, you know, that opened the door.
Right, yeah, I think that it should always be a learning process.
Absolutely.
I mean, even my job as a commercial photographer, I want to learn every day. I've been doing it for almost 40 years, but I still want to learn how to do things. I want to grow as an artist. I mean, that for me is why I even take on certain projects, you know, is I want to learn from my art. I want to learn technically, you know, so.
Well, and you do fantastic work.
I appreciate
so
it.
I always enjoy looking at your photography, Larry. So I would say to end this video, if there were, if there's something that you could offer the upcoming photographers, some form of advice that you've learned over the years that you could pass on to them, that'd be great.
You know what I would just say is just keep doing your work, and just, you know, if you get bad, I don't want to say reviews, but if you get people who don't like your work, listen to what they say, but then just keep pushing. Don't be turned off. I've had plenty of people say they didn't think my work was good. I mean, I don't want to say plenty, but I mean, I've had people over the years who didn't like it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You just keep pushing though, and do it for yourself though. Just keep that in mind. I mean, never do it because, oh, I'm going to take this beautiful sunset here because I'm going to be able to sell that. Do your work for you first.
Yes.
And if it sits in the closet, it may sit in the closet for a while, but it's not always going to be there.
Absolutely. Yeah, because when you do you begin to form your own style, and your voice is real and authentic in your work. You know, so I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, you can be influenced by people, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just don't copy them.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. All right, Larry, you know what? We could sit here all day and chat. I love talking with you. But stay tuned, guys, and watch some stills of Larry's work. And we'll talk to you again, Larry.
Yes, this is great. I
Definitely.
had a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for viewing. And please remember, if you can, to subscribe. And if you like our videos, hit that like button and share with all your artist peeps. Appreciate you. All right. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.